Wait, there we go, mate. Me and you look on a podcast.
Look how sexy we are.
You were saying you. I need to move that logo. You were just saying that you were looking imposing over me. Do you think that's the case?
Well, I don't know if
I don't feel imposed.
Well, no. As a northern man, I would never think you'd be imposed by a southerner ever, would you?
No. It takes no.
I saw your eyes light up a little bit then, like that was fighting talk.
I'm one of the least imposable people you can probably find.
I know, yeah. Generally, like the eye contact's freaking me out a little bit now.
Maybe I'm imposing you. Welcome to the show, especially those that have joined us live. We're meant to do this every Sunday, but life happened yesterday, so we're doing it on a Monday, which is probably better because there's a lot gone on.
Yeah, there was a lot. There was a lot that came out, and it was stuff that we needed to digest over the weekend, I feel.
Yeah. So it's for the better. But we are going to do these every week. Sometimes it might be on a Sunday, sometimes it'll be on a Monday. But you can join us live, and hopefully we'll have some of our first guests dialing in today.
Well, yeah, I've put it in
on their best behaviour.
Yeah, I've already had a word with a few of the boys. But to be fair, out of everyone, I'm probably the most misbehaved out of all of them. So
yeah,
having me here so you can control me is probably the best idea.
This is all part of the plan. In fact, I'm just going to mute you. And it's just going to be me. In fact, I'll just mute myself. No. Get rid of that flare logo. That's just really doing me in. Right, so today's show, we're going to talk about the Tyranid stuff that came out. We're not going to go into like loads of detail on it because there's probably other channels that have literally done that within seconds.
There's a million videos that have already done that. So
welcome to Aspects Tactics, where we break down the quickest changes that have taken place with the Tyrannids and review. Yeah,
it's a great channel.
I'm not going into that channel. This is our first podcast. Let's not start calling people out just yet.
We're going to look and laugh at the Nova Open because that's hilarious.
That's just the results of that are just unbelievable. When you look at it, it's just madness.
It's absolutely wild. Thank God the data slate's coming out on Thursday, and then we're going to talk about. We're going to have like a discussion, debate, really, aren't we, about what makes a casual player, what makes a. You do look a lot taller than me, actually, and you're not.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm not taller than you.
I'm going to have a straight back. We're going to talk about what makes a casual player, what makes a competitive player. And just kind of pick up on some of the things we've been talking about on stream.
And the dynamic amongst how you agree games and how you discuss what you're both trying to get out of a game as well, I think, is worth talking about in that discussion.
Yeah, agree. So we're going to do all that. And I should also get the YouTube chat up. Do you think people are going to be on the best behaviour if I get them on?
I would suspect that most of them will be.
2 or 3.
2 or 3.
All right, before we get those characters on, should we talk about Tyranids first?
Let's go through some Tyranid stuff.
Look at these. So the Codex came out. There was the norm. Did you order any of these? You didn't? Did you?
I didn't order any Tyranids because I am unfortunately not a Tyranid player. But then I look at them and think they are some of the sexiest models that have been released in a long, long time.
I think that's the best model. I think that's one of the best GW models.
I just want to see how big it is because I don't think they've made it big enough. I think it should be the same size as a knight, and I don't think it is.
Not. Yeah, no, it's not.
But it should be, and I don't know why.
A Marine's like up to here, I think.
Yeah, I think they've missed a trick there because all they needed to do was upscale it slightly.
You're not happy with his size. He's not packing enough heat. I mean,
he's not packing that. This though is stunning.
I said the other day that it's interesting that Tyranid's obviously evolved out there to get better and harder. This guy's just evolving to look cooler. That's interesting.
Yeah, he's just literally got maximum swag, all the riz.
Yeah, because what's the cloak doing?
The cloak's doing nothing. The cloak just looks class.
It's just an accessory.
If we got to the point where Tyranids are accessorising us going into battle.
Tyranids are.
Do we need more claws?
There's a Louis Vuitton detachment.
There's an absolute hype beast detachment. They've all turned up in off-white and Supreme.
Yeah. These lads are rocking it. That could be a cool way to paint the cloak, actually. Put a bit of design on.
Oh, mate, imagine if you painted it as like a Versace print on his cloak. That would be unreal.
Just loads of cash money signs.
Yeah.
Cash money, definitely.
Get him just doing this.
The Lictor looks shit compared to that, but, it's a Lictor.
Well,
so it's still pretty
but it's
cool.
still better than the old Lictors were.
I like the optional assembly as well because of the line of sight rules in Warhammer 40,000.
Well, yeah.
If you can have a model crouch down and hide, fucking do it.
Yeah, literally sticky out bits out the top of you are not a good idea at this moment in time.
Option A, everyone can see you because you have fingers sticking out over the top. Option B, it's taking a dump and nothing's going to be able to shoot you.
Yeah, like option B all day long. And you'll get people that will, and this will be something that we can talk about as we get into the competitive chat later. You will get people that will build whole units as option B. Because of that exact rule.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's literally what I just said, I guess. I mean, I'm like, it's definitely option B.
It's definitely option
Why
B.
would you, though? Anyway. Neuralictor.
I don't
cool.
like it.
It's doing like a little prance.
Yeah, I
It's
don't
a
get
ballerina.
the pose. I don't get the pose. That's the only one I'm not too keen on. Like, not 100% sure on that one.
Rules are pretty good, though. Gene Stealers.
The new Gene Stealers.
Yeah.
So good. Like
It's
Space Hulky-esque.
It's all looking pretty fun, isn't it? And we're not going to go into the rules and do it because you could go to other channels and literally spoke about the rules for days. But I'm kind of pleased about how they've come out. They look all right. They don't look stupid. They don't look awful.
So from what I've seen so far, there's obviously certain armies that need a serious looking at. But when you look at these Tyranid rules, they look exactly like they're going to sit top of the mid table, played well. They're going to be a very viable option.
Yeah.
Personally, from what I've seen. And I think that's what we need. I think we need armies that are balanced to a point that then if you pilot them well, you're going to feel like you can play competitively with them.
Yeah. That's what we're after. That's what the hobby needs. Oh my goodness. So yeah, on the whole, pretty cool. Looking forward to getting some games in with them. You see my painting station downstairs.
I've seen your painting
which George
station.
is not happy about.
Yeah, I think...
Bit of tension there.
Yeah, it was a little bit... I felt a bit awkward sitting there with you guys having dinner, discussing your painting setup in the living room.
It's your fault, George. You asked me to bring them down so I could be around you, and she's just like, I'm not having that.
It's like, you've invited me over for a witness for an argument. Like, I don't need this in my life. Yeah.
Funny. So Tyranids look cool. This is fun, though. You want a bit of a laugh? Have a look at this. Meta Monday, biggest weekend of 10. So Games Workshops, they ran this tournament, didn't they? Never Open. So
Yeah,
they had to sit there and see what they've done.
This is what you have done, GW.
What on earth
But
is this?
I like the fact there's at number 5, there's an 8-0. Like, what did he
He
do?
was just a
not
bellend.
score a lot of points. Just won every game by not a lot of points.
He's not winning.
It's good to see Orcs in there.
It's surprising to see Orcs in there. It's surprising to see
to see
anybody other than
Orcs.
Eldar
Yeah,
in there.
like we all know that Eldar are head and shoulders. It's surprising to see no GSC in there though.
Yeah, that is surprising actually. You see them they've popped up in a few of the other events over the weekend, but obviously that was the biggest one, 325. I wonder if this. I mean, people have seen as well the data slate. By the way, people that have joined us, I've not put the chat up yet, just because we're getting, but I'm going to get it up in a second. So if you are saying stuff, we're not. In fact, I could get it up in it. We're not ignoring you.
There's just a lot of moving parts at this moment, guys.
Yeah. Well, that's just. Oh, there we go. We got you guys up. Thanks for joining us. Evening, everybody. Evening, Rob. Evening, Adam. Even Vincent. Welcome. Thanks for jumping on. Yeah, it's surprising to not see more Gene Stealer cults, and yeah, cool that Orcs have. Although Orcs are in a terrible position, aren't they? Orcs are right.
I mean, I thought that game that we had on the channel the other day showcased what Orcs can do.
Yeah.
I think, there's definitely viable options in there.
Shame about the player.
Well, what, the Blood Angels player? Jesus, I'm only sat here, mate.
Yeah, what about that? Both of you. No,
Shame about the socks, eh?
You shocked, absolute disgrace.
Mate, there's a Votan in there.
Whoa,
Someone needs to have a work with Rob LeBeau, mate. They're viable, Rob. Why aren't you playing them?
Oh, right. Rob's saying Nova had 3 pods, which is why there was
Okay.
one of these ticklers down here in 5th.
Okay.
Is it? I mean, the data slate's obviously going to fix this, but I think if they hadn't brought that data slate out on Thursday, Eldar would just get banned from events. Like, what's the point?
I think it's looking like it's getting to that point because, we'll share that story that I got sent the other day in a minute.
Yeah,
but it's absolutely crazy at the moment. And, we're also going to talk about competitive versus casual play. Playing against Eldar, is there casual play at the moment?
Yeah,
or is there just turning up and getting smashed? With anything.
There's a group I'm in. Well, we'll talk about it now. There's a group I'm in, really nice lads. And one of them plays Eldar, and I think he feels bad about it. So he made up his own rule.
He made up his own rule.
I'm not even joking. He said, I'm up for playing Eldar, I'll give someone a game. And I think I said in the chat, good luck getting a game playing Eldar. And he was like, no, I've reworked the rules. I've redone fate dice so they're better and stuff. But that's the sad state of affairs, isn't it? Because, it's brutal that people have spent years collecting Eldar army, paint them up really nice, really enjoy the playstyle, and then so difficult to get a good game with them. I mean, hopefully after Thursday it's a different story, but
I don't. The problem is with G-dubs, they sometimes bring the sledgehammer down too hard, and Eldar will go from doing 8-0s to being at the bottom of the pile.
Yeah,
because they're changed them fundamentally. The problem is that they're playing the way Eldar should be playing. It's just their rules and the way they interact at this moment in time. They're almost playing a different game, which is...
It's just the fake dice thing. It's just completely dumb. It's just completely... Fake dice and Mortal Wounds is just completely stupid.
Broken.
Stupid. So, yeah, they won 7 out of 15 events. 5 largest events with a 62% win rate, but 68% when you remove the mirror. They made up 14% of players this weekend with 149 players, 56 more than the next closest. 41 or 28% of their player base went X and O or X and 1.
I mean, if that doesn't scream, we need to be looked at. There's nothing will there?
No, it's so stupid. I mean, the thing that worries me about it slightly is the first attempt to fix them obviously just didn't work at all. Like, just going, we'll just increase points a bit.
Increasing points just doesn't work because it doesn't fix the fact that the rule itself is fundamentally broken.
Yeah. So
you could make Wraith Knights 500 points each. They're still going to pay for their points, aren't they? You look at Desolation Marines. They've increased the points on Desolation Marines. People are still including them in their lists because, let's be fair, the game is about what you can trade. And even if you make those units 500 points, they're killing more than 500 points of your opponent's army, aren't they?
Absolutely, yeah.
So you're always going to include it.
It worries me that they thought that was going to fix it. I don't know. I guess Thursday maybe there'll be some relief when we see what they've actually done. But it doesn't bode... It doesn't... You know, we're going to simplify the game, you know, all this stuff that they've said, and then about what 10th edition will be. Slightly worrying that their first crack at it is so horrible. Like, I've only come back to... I've played 9th edition, and then I've not played 40k for a bit because I was playing War Machine, but has it ever been this unbalanced?
Yeah.
Ever?
So I think some of the boys will probably join in the chat here. The Eldar fly list, there was a flying list that Eldar played in, I think it was 7th, was completely broken because you could stack minuses to hit, and it basically got to the point that you couldn't shoot them.
It was just impossible.
Yeah, it was just, you were on like a -5 to hit, so you just couldn't shoot them.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there was an Iron Hands list for a while that was very broken. Even in 9th, when the Nids Codex came out, the Custodes Codex, and there was a spell when Dark Eldar were basically unplayable as well.
All when the codexes came out, I seem to remember.
It
It's a whole like, oh my god, this is a
creep.
new thing. Like, Jesus Christ.
But yeah, and I think it happens a lot, and it's just making sure that there's another... I would say that the problem is at the moment that everyone's working off of an index, aren't they?
Yeah.
Everyone's got one army rule, apart from Tyranids now.
Yeah.
And until all of those until all the codexes come out, there is going to be massive imbalances because you can't balance something on one rule, can you?
No. Some comments in the chat. So Rob's saying I beat Eldar with Sisters Thanks. Yeah, but Rob, you cheated. I don't know if that's true, but
no, it's not. It's not true.
I don't know if it's true, but I've said it now. And also it's live, so it's out there. I think the sled... I'm sorry, I was joking. Adam says, I think the sledgehammer will be fine to Eldar. Cut the head off that floppy corpse will still do work. That's a nice analogy there, Rob. Look at Quinn's at the end of 9. Rob says, this means Eldari have won more events in 3 months than any army has won in 9th in total. That's bonkers. Tom says, you have to be akin to Phillips. I'm going to have to read...
You're going to have to read
these as I go.
Before you go.
I should do that thing. Yeah, I should do that thing. Because what's happened there is I've started reading a comment and we've raised early on it's referencing who allegedly could be a sex offender. So I'm just going to...
We're just going to say allegedly. Allegedly.
A legend. He's not a legend.
He's definitely not a legend. Oh, we're banned.
Kill the story.
I'm banned. I'm banned again. Yeah, he's definitely not a legend.
I'm going to read it. You went to say, I'm going to read it, and then if it's fine, I'll read it.
While Paul's just looking at those comments, I'll just share this story from the weekend. So this is
I can't read that.
I'm not even looking because I won't be able to deal with it. So I got sent this story. So I've got a team tournament coming up with a few guys. And one of the boys in the group plays Eldar. So he was playing the tournament at the weekend. He's been drawn into another Eldar list. The guy that he was playing against had 2 Wraith Knights, 2 Fire Prisms, and a load of Indirect. So this is the text message I got.
I'm worried. This is fucking disgusting.
Yeah, it was that. And he put, the game lasted 15 minutes, and we talked it. We talked it from the end of turn 1. 100 to 35, I think. We then rolled it out, and if I'd gone first, it would have been a similar score. So the game was decided on a roll of a dice.
The end of turn 1.
The end of turn 1.
Do you know what
and
this
they
calls
rolled
for?
it out.
Do you know what this calls for?
I've got nothing left. I've got nothing
left.
Wait till
like,
the end.
but I've got to not laugh on the thing. It's so loud. But I think that just demonstrates exactly what we've seen in those results, isn't it? That how can you have an army that on a roll of a dice the game's done? A 3-hour game is done in 15 minutes. It's
a problem.
What's the point?
Yeah, it's a problem.
And well, yeah,
I hope they learn the lesson. I mean, listen, 40k is still great fun. You get loads of games out there. It's not like, oh my god, it's over. If you wanted to do a clickbait YouTube video, you would do something like 40k is over, it's ruined, blah blah blah. And like
Games Workshop are the worst company ever. Like
they're evil.
There's enough of that out there.
And also, like, it's just not true. Like, you can get great games at clubs. Like, all you got to do is have a conversation with someone before you play.
Which is exactly what I think we're saying.
That's what we're
going
to. Yeah. No, we're going to talk about it. And I guess at tournaments like it should be fine after Thursday. Maybe, hopefully, we'll see. Maybe.
Well, I think the problem is on Thursday that they've got so much to do. It's not sorting one army out. It's sorting out Eldar, GSC, Custodes, possibly Imperial Knights.
No, Imperial Knights are fine.
Well, yeah,
I legit think I think the fight. Towery, come on, get over it. You can shoot back.
You can just shoot me back.
But then you can see him.
You've then got to pick the ones at the bottom. You've got to do something with Death Guard. Death Guard at the moment are abysmal.
Yeah, Death Guard aren't good.
Death Guard needs something. Votan probably needs something.
Yeah.
I don't really know what else is down there at the moment, but you know, it kind of needs addressing from both points of the spectrum. It's not just let's nerf Eldar and everything's okay, because it's not okay. Because GSC are still not okay. Death Watch are broken as hell as well.
Yeah.
Custodes, like I think there's play into Custodes.
Yeah, people in the chat saying Custodes are all right. That's because Tom's in there though. There's at least a minute of superb content there of me defending why Imperial Knights are fine.
Yeah, I think that's probably worth us. Yeah, it doesn't. We can rehash it, but I think you're exactly right with Knights.
Sorry,
I don't think they're overly broken. I think there's ways and means to play into them, but they are a check army. They are an army that if you don't bring the right stuff, if you don't bring a balanced list that can deal with vehicles, you're going to get curb stomped. Yeah, unfortunately, and that's just the way it is. Yeah, but then if you do bring a list that's skewed into killing vehicles, then it probably goes the other way. Yeah, defo. But I won't just redo the rant. Sorry for deafening. Honestly, it was literally one of the most sensible rants I've ever done. Yeah, it was. But it's lost to the. Sorry if I deafened everybody there. Soz. We should be able to change that. Main discussion point. Yeah, let's do this. What is the difference between a competitive and a casual player? Because it gets thrown around all the time, doesn't it? Like, I'm a competitive player, I'm a casual player. And I've had experiences where you play someone who's like, I'm a casual player, and then they like really try and smash you and they're taking like a really strong list. And then there's people like, I'm competitive, and then they play things that are like off meta lists. So what's your take on the difference between casual and competitive? And I think you're an interesting example of this as well. So maybe I think my journey through 10th so far has been one of trying to chase the meta. I decided right at the start of 10th I was going to play Blood Angels. I like combat. I like the units. I like the aesthetic of the army. And I've ended up, as a lot of the boys in the chat take the piss out of me for, is playing Red Marines. Because all I'm doing is playing vanilla Space Marines that are painted red at this moment in time. I take your Desolation Marines, you take your Whirlwinds, you take your Scout Snipers, and you're not actually playing the army that you've signed up to play. So my view at the moment is, and I know there's a data patch, a nerf coming. I'm writing lists now, like the one I played on stream the other day, that I feel has enough of an edge to it to be competitive, but is also leaning into what I actually should be playing as Blood Angels. So you're a competitive player then? And this is the thing. I don't think you can. I think it's a game that where you win or lose. I think everyone has to have a certain element of being a competitive player, because otherwise, why are you playing? Why do you turn up, put your models on the table, and roll dice if you don't want to win? What's the point? There almost seems to be like a bit of a reluctance for some people to admit that that's what they're trying to do with Warhammer 40,000. It's kind of like I think they fear that if they say I'm a competitive player, then people are like, oh, this guy's not going to be fun to play. You're going to try and smash me. He's going to bring a meta list. He's going to be gamey. Or I need to watch his dice rolls. I need to watch his measuring, which I think is all rubbish, to be fair.
I do as well. The worst games I have against people that say the casual and then try and smash me and aren't playing. But like the best games I have when people are like, I'm practicing for a tournament. I'm going to bring my best list and like I'm going to practice some things. Is that all right? And I have really good games of Warhammer 40,000. The ones that are crap, where it's people that are a bit weird about what I'm taking, or not that I've had crap games at the club. Like that's not a dig at and we play at the club. But it's the games where it actually does end up being, bring your best list and play as best as you can. It's not like you're playing some thematic kind of chill.
Well, and I think this is what you've got to do. I think you've got to decide what you want to be doing with your army. What do you want to be doing with your... Do you want to just chase the meta and try and win? But when you do that, the feeling when you lose is awful.
Yeah.
Because you're actively trying to win. So why not embrace what you're playing, become a better player, playing, I don't know, Death Company or... I'm not even going to throw Sanguinary Guard in there because the chat will just laugh at me because they are in no way viable. But do you know what I mean? Play units that have an edge to them, that if you use them correctly, will do something. Yeah. Rather than just going, do you know what? I'm going to put 10 Desolation Marines in my list, 3 units of Scout Snipers. I think we've got Adam in the chat. Adam's
got a bit to say on this, actually.
Yeah, let him.
First of all, he says, but if Towering gets a change, they'll take a change. Right. Then the more recent comment. I think labelling competitive or casual play is bad for the game, as it creates a stigma towards competitive players. And for writing a good list, understanding the rules, knowing the armies, seem to get punished. I think ultimately playing people who have a similar outlook on the game removes the idea of casual or comp and will give you more enjoyment. It's a really interesting comment. Adam, feel free to ring in. Adam, maybe send in my number.
I've shared the number in the group ads.
Adam, if you want to ring in to chat through that, you can. If you don't, then that's also fine. We just won't take your comments seriously until you ring. No, I'm joking.
But yeah, no, I think
ring if you want them, mate, and I'll bring you straight off.
I think that's what we're trying to say, isn't it? Is that write a list that you're happy with. Don't chase them. Don't chase the meta. Write the list that you're happy with and become a better player. But I think this whole thing between casual, competitive, the worst games I've played are someone that turns up and goes, "Oh, this is a learning game," or "I'm going to treat this as a casual game." That's what Tom said last week when he
played you.
Yeah, well, obviously Tom treats every game as casual, doesn't he?
Casual Tom.
Casual Tom in his jean shorts.
Tom's a great opponent. Like, I know, go on, we give him our time, but like,
I think
Tom's a good example. I think of a all the guys that we play with are, but Tom in particular, a good example of like competitive game, but you'll enjoy it. I'll have a laugh. And chat to you about what like you could have done differently, but you know what I mean, in a positive way.
And I think if you, I'm not, I'm pushing the stream here now, but if you watch the stream that me and Tom did last week, I think that was exactly the vibe we were going for. It was a competitive game.
Yeah,
we were both trying to actively win. We were both trying to actively beat the opponent with better plays, but it was done in a good-hearted, fun way. We both had fun, and it then gets to the end of the game, and I got smashed. Doesn't matter, but I had a fun time doing it, and I will admit that I was competitively trying to win that game. I bought a list that I wanted to bring. You'll have people in the chat saying it wasn't competitive enough, but that is what it is. I've got to learn to play those units in a competitive manner because it all swings in roundabouts, doesn't it?
Yeah. To add, I guess, to Adam's. I'm waiting for an important call. Okay. Yeah. Well, Adam,
understood, mate. Yeah.
You feel. You know what that means?
I know what that means. Yeah.
Is that an in thing?
No, it's not an in thing.
It's just all right. It's all right. Well, you have to. To Adam's point, like I can't help but I talked about this the other day when I just did a little video, and I was thinking about Magic the Gathering and Commander, and what tends to happen in Magic the Gathering Commander is you have a lot of bad games until you find a group of people who you enjoy hanging out with and you're on the same level, and you create a little bit of a relationship by which you know who can have a laugh, who you just don't have a laugh with. If you just out of the blue go down to like a Commander night and there's loads of people there, you're in for the ride of your life just going in and playing against people.
Absolutely the Wild West, mate.
Chaos. It's absolute chaos. You know, you meet some people, you have some experiences, but that started this whole thing of like turn zero where people sit down and be like, right, this is my list. Yeah. This is kind of what it does. What have you got? And you kind of orchestrate a game which is the most fun or is reasonably balanced. I guess is that kind of what Adam's getting at? Because it still feels like there needs to be a conversation beforehand.
There has to be a conversation beforehand, and there has to be a discussion around what you're bringing and why you're bringing it almost. If you're saying I'm warming up for LGT, this is the list I'm taking, send them the list and say you bring whatever you want, then I think that's fair enough. Turning up to a game where you haven't actually agreed anything with someone with a meta list and going, oh, I'm sorry, mate, like this probably won't be very fun for you, is a bit of a dick move, really, isn't it?
Yeah. That not having that communication beforehand, I think it can be quite.
I think there needs to maybe be a discussion around how much you go into before as well with the army setup and like the army showcase, and there's a lot around talking through armies and talking about got years and stuff like that, but I find it hard sometimes because you almost tell your opponent exactly the way that your army's going to play, and you're like, I've given away half of what my army does by telling you all of my got years and all of my stratagems and what each unit does, and that kind of nullifies some of what I can do.
Yeah, that feels an important part of 40k. There's a lot of people that, when I put the thing about takebacks, where that definitely seems the right thing to do, is to be really clear about what your army can do, like stratagems that might catch them out and stuff. And even people who go as far, I think, to actively warn a player during a game. Yeah. To be like, oh, hang on, just to let you know.
Just
like,
to let you
and
know,
in like a practice environment, that seems really good thing to do. That sounds like that would definitely create better games, rather than being like, ha, I got you when you're just having a fun. I mean, people do that at tournaments. I think that's a different. I'm not encouraging that, but in tournaments, I can imagine that being more of a thing. You explain your list at the beginning, and then in the middle of the game, if your opponent forgets something you said at the beginning,
it's a competitive game.
If it's something that could just instantly change, then again, you're back into the take back chat forever. But if loads of stuff's happened, I think it's like, well, you kind of didn't.
Well, I think it's worth throwing this out to is Mr. LeBeau still in the chat?
He's about. I think half the chat might be deaf from the thing.
From me just shouting down.
No, from me looping the sound because I had the desktop audio turned.
So yeah, I think like it's probably worth. I know Rob's played a lot of competitive 40k and gone to a lot of tournaments, and I think you've got Tom in the chat as well who has as well, and it's probably worth getting their views on, what would you do in a tournament if you're 4-0 and playing on the top table, and there's a got ya, are you going to point that out to your opponent?
Well, they would on Reddit. On Reddit, they'd be like, it seems like the norm is to like actively make people aware of things that they haven't realised. But it's
very easy to sit there and type that on a computer.
Oh no, yeah, no, definitely. That's basically what Reddit is. But like, I think that takes us back into the take back land. Like the bit I'm interested in is this kind of like definition that people have over I'm a casual player, I'm a competitive player, and what ultimately I guess it's like what motivates people to play the game, because I think you're an interesting example of this, because when we were chatting the other night and how you've just been describing your list is you'll not necessarily take the best list you could take. You will take things that you want to play, that you're trying out. The other night you were playing Dante because you were reading the book. So, you build lists that you kind of are excited about and interested in, but then you still go to tournaments and stuff and want to go to tournaments and do as well as you can.
Yeah, obviously.
But then there seems this like conflict in you, and this isn't a dig. It's just I find it interesting where on one hand you're going to events and you want to do well, but then on the other hand you kind of like you just want to go for a bit of fun and laugh. So are you a casual player or competitive player? Because in my head, a competitive player would be like, I judge, like I want to do as well as I possibly can and finish as high up as I can. And I might be wrong. It's just how it's in my head. And I'll go and I'll finish X place, and then next time I'll reflect on that and learn, and then try and get better and finish higher. Whereas you are kind of like you want to go to tournaments and have fun and do well, but you want to do it on.
I want to do it on my terms.
Yeah, rather than like taking the best list. So you're a casual player or a competitive player?
No, a competitive player, because I play at a tournament. I'm still playing to win. Irrelevant of what list I bring, I'm still playing to win that game.
Yeah.
So even if I haven't bought a list that's necessarily, min-maxed.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still playing to win that list. And I think there's a lot, and I think you'll get a lot of this from chat as well, is I think there's a lot of play in knowing your list. There's a lot of nuance and ways to win in knowing your list.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that you can tell turn up to tournaments with a list that's clearly something they've just bought off eBay 2 weeks ago because it's what is exactly in meta.
It's Eldar.
It's Eldar, it's GSC,
I've painted different.
But they don't know the nuances of that list. And I think that's where getting reps in with stuff that's a bit different opens your mind to other stuff. And it also means that I'm not turning up with 10 Desolators with bolter discipline, and my opponent's thinking, oh, I'm playing a Marine player that doesn't have that. Like, oh wait, that's throwing the cat amongst the pigeons, because I've got a plan for playing that. I don't have a plan for playing whatever he's now bought instead.
If you were, let's say, a guy messaged you at the you're arranging a game, and I'll read some of the chat comments in a minute, 'cause some really good comments, and someone said, I want a casual game.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
So for me, for an example, something like, so we went to Funhammer recently, me and a few of the boys, and the clues in the name is Funhammer. I took 10 Sanguinary Guard and Dante, which is over 650 points at a 1,500 point event. That's a casual list. There's no way that you're telling me that is not a casual list, because they're not optimum units. So you go there knowing that what you've bought is to try and have fun, to try and have a good experience with people.
But what are you defining fun? Because Funhammer sounds great. I've not been to Funhammer. I will go to Funhammer. It sounds great. Everyone talks about it really highly. Loads and loads of good things about it. But how is it? Like, is there a level of like just community acceptance as to what people take there? Because you're right. You're taking a more what could be defined as a casual list, i.e., not like a sharp end of the meta. But you're still turning up to the table, and I imagine, doing your best to win within the realms of the rules. Do you know what I mean? You're not like, oh, I'll take it easy this game and not score as many points as I could. You're like,
no, you're still. So I played a guy. Obviously, not going to use any names on the stream. I played a guy that was playing Tyranids. It was the last game of the day, so to be fair, it had been a long old day, and I think I won something like, I don't know, 90 to 25 or something.
All right, don't show off.
No, but sorry. I'm just so competitive, aren't I?
I'm worried.
He wasn't worried. He did not care at this point in the day.
I've got nothing left.
Come on.
And but as you're playing the game, you're talking through the secondaries. You're going. So you've just pulled engage and cleanse. So, right, how are you going to use your units that you've got left on your side of the board to score those points? And if they don't want to talk it through with you, then fair enough. But a lot of people at Funhammer were looking to play in a semi-competitive environment and actually learn about the game from other players that were there. There were some really good players at Funhammer. I mean, Mr. Rob didn't turn up, so that was a bit disappointing. Rob just turning up and absolutely smashing everyone.
Savage.
Just absolutely savage. Just turned up like the Undertaker on his motorbike, rolling into Dice Saloon.
Rob. Right, let's read some quotes.
Yeah.
So Adam says, I think if you're playing someone you know and practicing for an event, you can play it in the way that is like practicing, going back and forth. I also believe that after going to events, you understand the game in a different way, and it makes you want to play people locally from a select pool, especially when time is more restricted. No one wants to go and have a game where you 100 someone easy. Yeah, I think that's a good reflection, isn't it? And I guess that goes back to Adam's point. I know there are more comments. I'll read them in a sec. Goes back to Adam's previous point of like, rather than like dropping people in categories, you just need to find people that are playing the game for the same reasons as you. Yeah, like
100%.
I think for me, if someone says I go to events, I go to tournaments, I think, oh, cool, okay, I'll probably have a good game against this person then, because they'll be switched on with the rules. Yeah. And this isn't a dig at people that are casual, but by any respect. But if you're going to a tournament, you know the rules pretty well. Like, I'll probably be at a talk strategy.
You've at least got an understanding of where you are and what you want to be doing with your list, don't you?
Yeah.
Whereas, but then you look at the other end of the spectrum, and there's guys down at the club that play Eldar, and I just won't play him, because what's the point?
Yeah.
I can play any list I want, and I'm still getting beaten. And like Adam said, there's a restriction on time in this hobby as well.
Yeah.
Everyone pours a lot of time and a lot of effort into this hobby, and the last thing you want to do is spend your one game night of a week getting 100 to 25 and go, it's competitive what you're playing against me, mate. I'm playing competitively. I'm still getting smashed. What's the point?
Yeah, agree.
And that's why I'm saying I think sometimes it's worth bringing the fun list into it, because at least you can have fun in what you're doing. Yeah, your opponent might be, playing optimal meta stuff, but if you're bringing a list that you feel is fluffy and you put your own stamp on that list, and then you get a win with it, I think that's probably the best outcome.
Yeah, fair. Rob says pre-game chat doesn't happen at top level. That's Liam's level. That's rude. Well, that's a rude thing to say, Rob.
Well, Rob, didn't I beat you the other week, Rob?
A GT, ask what's enhancement, what's your stats. I don't need you to tell me what your list does. I already know. But Rob, I mean, is that always true?
And this is where we're getting into. This is what we're saying is I don't think you can say there's competitive and casual. I think there's levels within both of those. So you can play competitively but casually, as in you're hanging out with your mates. You're both trying to win, but if there's take-backs, if there's mistakes, you talk them through. But then you get into proper competitively, like I was saying. If you're 4-0 at a top table and you can see someone's about to make a mistake, you're not going to sit there and go, well, mate.
Yeah, mate, don't deploy those over there. That's an awful decision. I've got this.
You're not going to do that, are you?
Yeah.
And I think that's when you get into, you're playing at a tournament, you're playing competitively, you're there to win.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why have you turned up?
Yeah.
And everyone's got to make their own decision on that.
Adam says if you're 4-0 on a table, there won't be a gotcha. Rob Liam, we have played when I have ever... Oh, what's let's not try and just read out people around each other. Tom says,
Rob.
Tom, I'm just going in blind to these comments. If you've mentioned Schofield again, I'm deafening everybody for the second time. We'll always go through my tricks and gotchas prior to the game, and if it comes up during a game, I always have a fallback position, but it depends on Tony. If it's a small local RTT, I'll be lenient. Nationals is mainly on chess clocks, get in the bin.
Yeah, get in the bin is Tom's version of saying, I'm going to smash you all over the place. Get your units
with
in
Tom,
the bin.
I think that's definitely the mentality I'd take. Stephen says, casual is in the list building. I did it at Funhammer, played Nurgle Demons, tried to win, knew it was unlikely. Vincent, I think that's Luke in it. Again. Good point, Steve. Think casual also encompasses more non-match play, ways to play like narrative, etc. Yeah, I think where we're settling on is the casual competitive thing. You can be a pain in the ass to play on any end of the spectrum. Whether do you know what I mean? If you imagine casual to competitive, like people are just pains in the ass across that, regardless whether I'm competitive, I must be really difficult to play. Casual, yeah. I'm so fluffy. Like
some of the worst games I've played have been the ones that I turned up for a game of Age of Sigma. I thought I'd do a bit of Age of Sigma. I did some Lumineth Realm Lords. Someone offered me a introductory game against Stormcast Eternals.
I'm worried.
Yeah, I wasn't worried because I thought it was an introductory game. So I've set my little castle up of all my nice little Lumineth elves, and all he's done is deep strike everything within 7 inches and kill my whole army at the end of turn 1.
I've got nothing left.
Exactly that. I had absolutely nothing
it's
left.
The only two I can remember. I don't know what the others do. Like any of the others could be...
One of them's playing Toy Soldiers. But that's...
What was that?
I don't know. That was Nurgle. Nurgle got in the system at that point. But I think that's where you get to where you're like... So you've offered to teach me how to play. What you've actually done is table me at the end of turn 1 and then go, oh, I'm really sorry, mate. I'm out of time. I'll see you later. Like, that's not casual. That's just being a dick.
Yeah, that's someone just smashing you.
Yeah, so there was no running through any rules. There was none of that. It was purely just, I think this guy's obviously new to this. Let me turn up, beat him, feel good about myself, and, he hasn't added to the hobby, if you know what I mean, in any way, shape or form at that point.
And I think that, that to the points that are being made in the chat, that, definitely, maybe it doesn't need to be the kind of commander thing of, what's everybody's Jack, this, that, and the other, but there's definitely something to be said about researching the communities that exist and finding people that play the game for the same reason as you. And I think it would be helpful if the community thought less about competitive as being oh God, you must be really, no take backs, really harsh, and this, that, and the other, and then casual being oh, you're really relaxed. Because I think that is just pure nonsense.
Well, I think I want to touch on that. So I think the point that Rob's making when he's saying I know their lists is because I think, and obviously correct me if I'm wrong here, Mr. LeBeau, is that when you get to that point in a tournament, people are playing set lists. You know what people are bringing. So if they're bringing a Gene Stealer cult list, you're 90% sure what's going to be in that list. There might be the odd tweak here or there. I guess the same with Eldar. Yeah. The same with your Custody. I think you could pretty much know what your Custody list was going to be from the start of 10th to now because it was all the same. And I think that's what Rob's saying is if you get to that point in a tournament, people are just playing those lists.
Yeah.
There's not too much variation in it, so you know how the list that you're playing plays into that.
Yeah,
list.
definitely. We'd get that in War Machine a lot. You'd turn up, you'd be like, "Oh, you're playing that caster and that caster. Yeah, great. Now practice that all the time. Yeah, I know the thing." And
Yeah, I
then
know
you
what
just
they're
get into
doing.
it and you just play the game.
Yeah.
Versus so like, what's that do again? What's that do again?
Yeah.
What's that do again? Luke says secret sauce is finding like-minded opponent agreeing on how the game is being approached. Yeah, I agree. Luke, I think you're a good example of what a positive competitive game can feel like. 'Cause I think the first time I played Luke, I was playing Knights and he had Demons and Bellicon. Like Luke, I was absolutely smashed me. Like I did not get a lot of points. Like completely wiped by him. But then we spent a load of time after like chatting through the game and like what could have been different. And I think before the game, I'd said to Luke, I want to go to tournaments. I think, you know what I mean? I've played War Machine loads. And so I think I made it clear to Luke that like, I want a really good, you know what I mean? Don't be like, oh, do you know what this does? Tell me what your stuff does and then just show me how good it is.
I've done that with Rob, in fairness. I know I was being sarky with him, but I've done that with Rob in the chat as well. And I've said to him, can you bring a list? I want to be, you know, I want to be tested. I want to play against a list that is oppressive because I need to see how my list, my units, what my units are doing against that list.
But that's the key bit, isn't it? Where they're like, why you're playing the game becomes so important. Because I think if you have just got an army or you just kind of play casually and you don't want to buy... Because I think a lot of people collect their army, paint the models, and then just kind of play it. And that, like, what's the latest meta in the next model? They just kind of play the thing. Like, turning up to play against a list that is just going to pull your arms off is never going to be an amazingly positive experience unless you want to get... Unless you've got that mindset of like, I need to learn what your list does. Yeah. I need to learn how to get better. Even if I can just score 40 points in this game, I'll be super chuffed. Like that would be great for me. And kind of setting mini achievements versus someone that like one night a week, they get out of the house, they go to a club, they just want to roll some dice and chat and have some like thematic rumble in the middle.
Yeah. And go, my Dante's charging into your Gazgul and it's a
it's
this
just a big rumble in the middle.
Yeah, and it's so thematic.
Yeah.
Rather than like you're saying, there's these little nuances that sometimes come into it as well, isn't there?
That is the challenge of 40k though. I think the thing that exists in 40k way more than other war games, strategy games, is that it can be brutally unbalanced. Like,
but it is at the moment.
Now the meta, what we're looking at with the Meta Watch is a good example of. I think versus other games and systems, you don't have to work that hard to get a close game. You might get like 60-40 matchups. Yeah, where it's like, okay, my list is a bit better than yours, but you have a chance here. Like you still got a 40% chance to win the game if we were just equal. Skilled players. Whereas 40k, I think at the moment in the meta, you rock up and it is absolutely brutal. Like you can be like, oh god, or if you're just playing Death Guard. Imagine if you're just wandering around playing Death Guard.
We're just getting pumped.
It's just hard. Like it's just you had a game, didn't you? At the
I played a guy at the club.
You were just like,
and I felt. But this is the problem: is you feel bad about it, but you're playing in what is a league, so is considered reasonably competitive. And you know, like he's playing against. To be fair, I was being a bit of a douche at the time, and I had Desolation Marines and Scout Snipers and all this in my list. And he bought Typhus and 20 Plague, whatever the little Plague people. I don't know.
Plague Boys. Well, don't look to me to get names right. I'm an absolute joke.
And left them out in the open on turn 1. And I said to him, like, I can shoot those. He was like, yeah, they'll be fine. And they weren't fine. And you feel bad about it. But at the same time, if you've warned someone about it, what more can you do?
But also, like, this is where my sympathy reduces for people that have those experiences. If you're, and this might be just me being a bit of a dick, but if you're playing a league, and the purpose of the league is to win as many games as possible, then you're going to get a hard time. Like, if you turn up to, because I think the first time I met you guys and I played the league that Tom runs, like, I was getting back, like, I think I won 2 games and lost like 3, or maybe like I was getting like absolutely battered because I just turned it with a Knights list. Or maybe maybe I won 2. I turned it with a Knights list that just wasn't at all optimal. I just literally just bought some Knights and put them together and painted them. Yeah, I was getting but I didn't mind getting smashed because like, well, it's this cool. I'm just like, get in a league and play some games. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't the end of the world, but
you have to expect with that mindset.
Yeah, you have to be like, I might get absolutely smashed this game.
Yeah, and I think you need to accept that sometimes that there are going to be times, even if you are playing competitively, that you turn up and your opponent's just got a perfect list that goes into yours and might just be a better player than you. And you're going to have games where you get 100'd. Yeah. And you've just got to accept that, and you can't take it I think the biggest thing is you can't take losing to heart in this game. You've got to take something out of each and every game you play.
Yeah.
And understand what you did wrong, if you did something wrong, and what you can then do to improve the next time you play.
Yeah.
And yeah, you might say, oh, it's gamey, it's really competitive. But at the same time, like we said right at the start, no one's playing this game to lose. Why would we sink this much time into a hobby to turn up and lose?
But that's why I think the people that have the worst experience of 40k are the people that are trying to tell themselves they're playing casually, but actually they really want to win. Do you know what I mean? They're like, I really want to win. I want to like do as best I can. But they've got like they're not just admitting that they're playing competitively, and therefore finding the experience really stressful and annoying, rather than being like, what could I have done better? What could I take next time?
Do you not think that? I probably should have said this at the start. Do you not think that every game, the whole of 40k, there isn't casual? It's all competitive, unless you're playing narrative.
Crusade, maybe even Crusade. But then I bet some people absolutely meta the shit out of Crusade.
Yeah.
Like, I bet some people absolutely go to town on.
Yeah, I think there's just a spectrum of competitive play. I don't know if there's necessarily, if you're playing 2,000 point games, a casual way to play it. You can play it competitively with a casual element that you're both having fun, chatting through stuff. But at the end of the game, at the end of the day, it's a game where you win or lose. Surely
you're trying to win. I guess that's ultimately the point. Well, I'll read some, and there's more comments in the chat I'll read.
Yeah.
But like, I guess that's the point we're kind of settling on, is that it's a competitive game, but the key bit is chatting to your opponent before to make sure there's a level of balance with the list.
There's a level of understanding of what you're both trying to get out of it as well.
Yeah.
Let's see some comments then. How wrong have we been?
Rob says, well, you also know what the top 5 or 6 armies are in the meta and learn the index. Yeah, that's the point you were picking up from it. And he says that's the difference between casual and competitive. Casuals learn the armies they have. A player that wants to be in a comp learns as many as they can. That's a good point. Adam's question is it unbalanced? I don't know. It feels pretty unbalanced. The meta feels totally unbalanced. Don't get me wrong. Eldar are smashing it, but the rest are having good games. Not an awful point. Yeah, I think the middle tier is actually pretty good.
I think if you took Eldar and GSC out the top, and you took Death Guard and whoever else is at the bottom out. Votan maybe. If you took those 4 armies out... Sorry, I'm getting excited and moving away from the microphone. I think if you took those 4 armies out, I think it would be a really, really balanced system at this moment in time.
Well, to be fair, all the streams I've had on the game have been close. The games at the club that we see are more often than not close, good games.
Yeah.
There's not loads. I mean, is anyone playing Eldar at the club?
Yeah, there's one chap down there that plays Eldar, but he also plays Votan, so he brings a mix and match.
He loses one week and wins the other.
Yeah.
Rob says, I've beaten Eldar more times than I've lost its play skill. Rob.
Yeah, no. Rob is right. It is player skill. But if Rob's playing a
Rob,
person,
over the course of like 30 years, yeah, sure.
Yeah, but if Rob's playing a player that's as skilled as him, that's playing Eldar, then he's going to lose.
Yeah, you can't look at those
Sorry,
stats.
Rob, that is the fact, isn't it?
Rob's saying 10 fads the random card mechanic, but still mostly applies. Yeah, the random card mechanic can definitely throw a spanner in the works. And I felt like the random card mechanic might make the game feel a little less competitive, a bit more like, But
I almost think it's gone the other way. I think it's made it more competitive. Because you've got to build your list knowing
I love that
you have got to do, that you've got to have units that do certain things. Yeah. Prime example of that is my Librarian Dread in my Blood Angels list. With his psychic power, the way he can move units around, you put him in there just for that. Yeah. You don't need him for anything else because he scores you secondaries. I was listening to the Art of War, Dark Eldar stuff today. And they're like,
I'm worried.
Yeah, Dark Eldar are a worry.
It's fucking disgusting.
It's also that. But they have units, the mandrakes I think they are, and they pick up and they move around and they do bits and pieces. And that's why GSC is so good, because they just score secondaries.
Yeah, GSC are absolutely unbelievable, yeah.
And you've got to, that's why your lists are becoming more, it's not just like the old school, I'm just going to build something, sit on 3 objectives and blast you off the map. You've got to build a list now that has units that do a specific role.
Yeah. And that's definitely a way of balancing a game, I think. If the game relies on factors which are a step away from just absolutely blowing you off the board and rely on scoring points and things like that, I think that's really good, healthy balance for the game.
Just look at where Ninth was, at the end of Ninth. So I played Knights at the end of Ninth. My secondaries I took were the 3 Knight secondaries, which was essentially do an action in the middle of the board,
score, get your honor points,
get honor points, and don't fall back.
Yeah.
But if you played knights how they were supposed to be played, you just scored secondary, and then the secondaries went into each other, and that's better in 10th because you can't do that. You can't purely build your list around knowing that you're going to score those secondaries. Well, you can if you're not.
Well, yeah, because Adam's saying what happens if you take fix, because you can write a list that text specifically into deploy, like say deploy teleport homers.
Yeah, but I think
is anyone doing that though? I feel like everyone's playing tactical.
I think someone played at the club the other day with a list that was purely that took engage on all fronts and behind enemy lines, and did the Tyranid thing where they drop biovores.
I mean, you can't do that anymore. You can do one at a time. Let's do one now, don't they?
I don't know. I remember that being a thing.
Yeah, Rob says the NIDS biovore list,
Yeah, which is what was being played at the club the other night. But I guess that'll probably get changed in this patch as well, I would have thought.
Yeah, they've changed biovores now, so I think they can only have one out. It's better. The chat will probably help us, but it's basically you can't do it anymore.
Is this on the new
it's not as broken
from the codex?
Yeah, it's not as stupid.
Yeah, and this is the thing is, what you'll also find in this game is the super competitive people will study codexes and look for those little tiny, almost the wording errors, the little rules interactions that everyone else misses, that they then play for 3 months, then it'll get errated, and then we're back to looking for those little rules
Try
again.
to find the broken stuff.
Almost the loopholes within each codex.
Yeah.
And I think that biovore list was a loophole in that codex. I don't think they meant it to be like that.
No, I wouldn't think so. I think we've Adam didn't ring in. He's obviously got his he's got his things. Well, nobody rang, but that's fine. I think we've good chat with those that joined us live and kind of gone over what we wanted to go over with that.
Yeah, I
think we settled on something sensible.
Well, yeah, exactly that. I think I would say exactly that.
The secret is find people that you enjoy hanging out with and have some good games, and don't get obsessed about labels.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it.
You're comp, I'm casual, therefore we can't play each other. Just find lists.
Do you realise that's just life in general, isn't it?
It turns out 140,000 is just like life in general.
Just take our advice and apply that to your actual life.
Yeah.
To be fair, don't take any of my advice and apply it to any of your life. You don't need to be me.
I was thinking the other day, I was like thinking about a video, and I ended up not doing it because it sounded stupid, but it was basically like picking a faction in 140,000 is a bit like online dating. Do you know what I mean? You got to see what they look like, but also like see what they look like in the flesh. Yeah, don't touch the models,
It's definitely
make sure you like the feel of them.
It's a bit of a meat market, Warhammer 40,000, which is a lot like a Tinder profile.
Oh no. Power him down.
No, but it is. And I think this leans into what we're saying about the competitive nature of the game. If Death Guard were the most broken army in the whole game, I wouldn't play them. I would never play them because I don't like the aesthetic, I don't like the play style, I don't like anything about them. I play the armies I want to play because I like the models that are in the army, I like the lore, I like the fluff that goes along with it, because it swings in roundabouts. One day Votann will be rubbish. 3-4 months down the line, they might be super competitive. So you can't just base it on who's winning the most at that time. You've got to enjoy building and painting the models that you get as well.
Defo. Although there are also, I think, some people that do actually enjoy just racing to the strongest list and then rocking it with a tournament. Right? There's definitely faction hunters, but that's fine too.
But that's in everything, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's in Magic. That's in War Machine. That's in Malifaux. That's in Crisis.
Yeah. Online dating.
Race
people
to the
get
top.
plastic surgery and
It's a race to the bottom normally, mate.
Yeah.
I'm worried.
Is it worth asking the chat if there's any topic that they think we should talk about next week?
Yeah, if there's any ideas, drop them in. Or if people are watching this post us doing it, then let us know in the comments. And we'll bring it up.
100%.
We're particularly interested in the more controversial. You do look. I'm really slouching. Particularly interested in the more controversial areas of the hobby, or nuanced rather than just Tyranid's good.
Yeah. Let's talk about the 5 best data sheets in Tyranids today.
Yeah. Next week, should Space Marines have tits? Join us live.
And we're out.
I'm worried.
No, not that conversation. I'm not quite. I don't think Reddit's ready for that. But yeah, let us know if
think
people
we need to get banned straight away. To
No,
this
no, no.
review.
We've already had Philip Schofield. There's a bloody community warning thing popped up with a Schofield chat. I'm sure it'll be fine.
I'm sure we'll be okay.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
We might be rebranded next week.
Yeah. Yeah, be like, hold you channel. Be like, Christ, where's that channel gone? No, you don't know. And then we are going to try and maybe do these on a regular Sunday slot. If not, Monday seems to be fairly fine.
Right.
And we'd like to hear from people. So if you do watch this, make sure you tune in and you can ring up and we will get you in and we'll do more debates and discussions.
Yeah, definitely, guys. Like, it's great having the chat going, but it'd be nice to have some of the boys
call in.
Call in.
Yeah, use your best words and
use all your vocab, lads.
Your most wholesome language. Thanks, gents. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in.
And we'll see most of you down the club tomorrow.
Yeah, see you at the club.